I'm looking at the deck list. We're shuffling up here. I think a couple of differences that I see. Josh has a little bit higher top end with his ice. I see a Susano no Mikoto in there. I see an Ashigaru in there.
Two toll booths.
Yeah, so he's going a little bit larger than it looked like Ricky may have been with his ice suite. We'll see whether that works out for him. I know Susano was a card that Ahmed, who I mentioned earlier in our players to watch, Ahmed brought that with him to the StimHack Invitational. I think a lot of players brought to the Tulsa Regional last week. And I think he got a lot of feedback from a lot of players saying, "Hey, this is a great card. This is just tough this shuts a lot of decks down and it's very tough to deal with a lot of players, a lot of runners dropping their femme fatales. There's not a lot of easy ways to deal with it outside of bringing Switchblade."
Yeah, and we kind of poke at Ahmed a lot because he doesn't do a whole lot of like really out there stuff, right? He's one of those play by the book players, and it does him well. I mean, he has a great win-loss record, but he was kind of one of those people that said Susano is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And we're like, really, just trust me on this, guys.
Yeah,
we got this.
But especially now with Crick, I mean, think of what it does before. Maybe okay, so we're shuffling up, drawing up an opening hand, and we are off.
And he's already gotten twice as much ice as Josh did, or Ricky did.
Ice.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so centrals are defended.
Well, we say all the centrals are defended. I mean, he still only has 5 credits, and you did mention how top-heavy some of his ice is. So let's see, how long they stay defended.
But what's interesting is Andromeda always has that opening turn where, in a lot of cases, they're looking to play a dirty laundry at some point. And I think just even though you've got all the centrals iced up now, it's kind of tough to guess which one may be the ice they can't res. And so, he may have shut down that opening economy, but he's going the Katie Jones route instead.
Yeah, I mean, Andromeda usually gives you a free turn as the corp also.
Yeah.
I mean, they're usually, like you said, going to get one run out of that dirty laundry, but a lot of the turn is spent trying to get all these things out of hand. So you have a little bit more time to start up than you normally would as the corp.
Yeah, and he laid that cloak down on first turn. So if I'm Josh, I mean, I immediately know we're dealing with Stealth Andromeda. This is not the data sucker variety. So interesting information that gets presented that Josh is going to hopefully use to his advantage.
Now, do you think that gives you a little more time as the corp to know that he has to try to get this big suite set up? You think maybe I have a little more wiggle room than I did before?
Yeah, it might. Well, now we've got Refractor. I mean, Refractor's so good because, I mean, you saw the Enigmas that were on the board in the last game. I mean, Refractor, even without any stealth support, deals with a lot of the code gates that that people are playing. I mean, it won't hit Crick, but still, I think that Refractor has proven itself to be a great early game code gate breaker with or without the stealth credit support.
I agree with that. But, I mean, Refractor's not one of those things that I generally see out of Andromeda a lot right now. Like, usually when I see the stealth credits, I just assume there's a Switchblade. And, from time to time you see the Replicator, but it's not as predominant and as out there as the Switchblade is.
Well, at this point, I mean, Ricky should feel fairly safe running in that, the ice that you're worried about that could damage you, you've got Yagura, which is a code gate that does damage. Refractor can deal with that at 0 strength, and then you've got the Fairy to deal with any of the sentries. So he's as safe as you're going to find yourself against at least a 1 ice deep server for replicating perfection.
Right, and you're not worried about saving your money. I mean, you have a Katie Jones. You can afford to get down to 0 and, come back later.
All right, so we're going to start looking at R&D with the interface down. Doesn't see anything there, but just loads up Katie and waits to react to Josh.
Josh looking through here, thinking, probably trying to figure out what of his servers is actually safe. So what is this card down here? Oh, that's Archives. Okay. I'm looking at it backwards. I'm thinking, okay. Saw the sideways card.
I think I see a toll booth in hand.
You do. But I don't know that I see any agendas. I mean, we can't see this right-hand player's hand quite as well as we can the left-hand players in these cameras. So
deciding to protect R&D, I think with the interface down, that's not a bad idea.
Okay, I did see a Sundew down there as well. And it's not getting installed, so maybe he's just a little short on ice.
I think he just put down a daily business show, if I saw correctly.
Nope.
Sundew. No, he's going for the Sundew server.
I mean, you got to. That's your money, and against Andromeda and any criminal in general, you got to outpace them on money.
Yeah, I always like these aggressive Sundew plays. I mean, even if it's something where he knows Ricky can get in, you see so many times that the runner is going to have to spend their turn, and maybe he has to burn his Fairy to get there. And sometimes, you know, it really puts runners to the test early on to say, you know, do you have the breakers and are you willing to spend your turn and all your money to deal with this?
Now, like I said, we can't get a good view of his hand, but I don't think he made that an easy server. I think the toll booth went down right there.
Okay.
Or at least, and actually, if he had two, then they went on R&D and Sundew, but I'm pretty sure that I at least saw one of them go on to the Sundew.
Yeah, and this is the power of replicating perfection. I mean, even if the Sundew gets dealt with, you see the credit count on the corp side. I mean, Mental Health Clinic has just been kind of chugging along here, making him money every turn. And Ricky, obviously, he's got the Katie Jones going, but 9 credits is only going to get you so far when you're going through ice, trashing Sundews. And, you know, I don't know that even if he trashes Mental Health Clinic, that's going to put him back to almost no money.
Do we know if Josh's Jinteki deck has a way to tag him and get rid of Kati? It does not look like he does. And, you know, it was weird. Snatch and Grab was out for a little while there, and it disappeared. But I think there's still an equal amount of dangerous connections out. And
yeah.
Kati is still a thing, so I'm really not sure why it's not seeing a little more play at least. I mean, I know it doesn't need to go in every deck everywhere, but it may be something worth thinking about and replicating, given that you're trying to tax and Kati is such a big economy card, that it may be something to look at as a one-of in there.
All right, so we've got the basic rig online with the corroder.
All right, so we do have some sort of breaker for everything. I mean, it's a ferry, so it's only one shot to break a sentry, but at least he can get anywhere if he needs to. Enigma comes out, and sure enough, that's one of those that, you know, Refractor can deal with.
So now,
and let's see if Josh. Oh, he has the toll booth still in hand. Okay.
So now, do we go trash the Sundew?
I mean, you got to at least check. You know, like
that was the last click.
Oh,
Never mind. So Sundew continues.
We should probably pay more attention to the game.
Yeah, and this is exactly where replicating perfection wants to be. I mean, they've got ice out there on the board. All their passive economy is going. You know, they're looking at the credit pile on the runner side. Doesn't even compete with theirs, and this is just you know, a really good board state. I'm curious when Josh, I don't know if he's going to look to build out another remote and leave that Sundew remote as is and try to kind of get his scoring remote online, but you know, he's certainly got time on his side.
Yeah, and it's really weird. As awkward as that last game was where neither side could really get set up like they wanted to, this one, both decks seem to be running exactly like they're built. So, yeah, I mean, RP has a much better spot this time than they did last game. But on the other side of the board, Andy has a full suite out. She has Kati making her money, and she has an R&D interface. So, I mean, both of them are set up. We're just going to see a completely different game than last time around.
Yeah, Ricky can't be happy looking across at all that passive economy. I mean, this is 4 credits a turn cycle for Josh, and at this point, I mean, you want to start making him res ice and spending money because otherwise, you're just the game's going to get out of control.
He's debating whether he wants to even res this R&D ice, although I'm kind of scared at what the rest of his ice is if he's even having to consider this. I mean, you got an R&D interface.
All right, we got Marcus, one of the Bioroid boys.
See, 3 strength.
So 3 credits to break with Corroder. Good ice placement. Having Marcus on the outside, since that first subroutine makes you trash something on your board, you know, it doesn't allow them, unlike Eli, to just bounce off that and, as a central server run and then go to a remote.
Right, and that is one of the little weird weaknesses of RP is, right, you need all this ice that does stuff to you. You can't just bounce.
So Cortex lock, since Desperado is out there and Ricky has 1 unused MU, that would do damage, so he burned the fairy on that.
And
he's
Future Perfect.
You're going to play a game.
Although, if I'm right, yeah, I mean, that little stick is only 1 credit, so all he had to do was bid 2, and he couldn't have lost it.
And this is the beauty and the power of the Future Perfect. If you don't have the credits to be able to bid high, and Replicating knows that they're going to just charge back up next turn, they can bid 2 all day.
Ricky's turns up, and now suddenly, you know, RP is going to be back 4 credits higher again as soon as he's done.
And he wanted to use that dirty laundry, I think, but didn't have enough credits. I think he's only got 1 credit left, so can't even pay for the dirty laundry at this point.
So now I think Josh is just digging for ice. Like, this is one of those places, or digging for an agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, we know he just drew the future perfect, so I imagine that that's got to be coming out fairly soon. I mean, Ricky's at this point where you have this small scoring window, and the most he's going to get to is, what, 6 credits before he can has to make 2 runs back to back.
And at some point, I mean, that Cortex lock, I think, with especially going against the stealth deck, I mean, his MU is going to be filled up pretty soon, I imagine. So that won't be live forever. So interested to see if Josh. Oh, we got a pup over HQ.
Why not?
Absolutely. We saw how much it sniped last game.
And I mean, it's Andromeda. I don't know that she's going to be including a whole lot of parasites to get rid of that. 6 months ago, I would have said she might.
Right. Uh-oh.
Ow.
That's not one you want to see down. So I think we're going to go broke to get through the Enigma and then get 1 credit back for the Desperado run. Actually, I think he jacked out after the run, or after the pop encounter.
Yep. And let's see what's in his hand there. There's the dirty laundry.
Some money.
Yeah.
And he's got the switchblade in hand, so you know he's got the long-term breaker, the sentry breaker, but not. I don't see any ghost runners in hand, and only the 1 cloak, so not exactly perfect timing.
Josh
I do see a silencer though.
Okay, there's an NAPD on Josh's side too. So I mean, you got to imagine the NAPD is going to come out before that future perfect is, just because even if Ricky steals it, he's going to be down 4 credits on his already low economy, and then he can push through the 3-pointer.
And I can't see the ice on the scoring remote, but I kind of agree with you. I mean, this is a perfect time to jam NAPD with or without Caprice or with or without Ash, because, I mean, really, what's the runner going to be able to do? I mean, staring at that ice, very high likelihood that he can't run a central and then go back to get the remote and pay for NAPD.
Right, and we can see Ricky's hand. We know that he has a switchblade, but on Josh's side, you got to be thinking, right, he doesn't have a sentry breaker, so he's going to have to pay to install it, try to make the runs, maybe hit an APD and pay 4 more. Like, that was, I don't know that you could have a lot better scoring window at this point in the game without damaging your long-term benefits.
Yeah, because anybody who's played this matchup, I mean, Stealth Andy will get to the point in the game where she just kind of runs over replicating perfection. So the advantage on the Corp side is in the early game before you get that stealth rig set up. So, I mean, I think from Josh's standpoint, he's never going to be more advantaged than right now. So let's start jamming out those agendas.
Which for any Corp deck to have the late game advantage over RP seems a little odd thing to say.
So we got some agendas, an Ash, a Susanna that we mentioned earlier, and then the other Marcus.
And so there are agendas in there for him to go get. I mean, it's just Enigma and a pup. It's not a particularly taxing server.
So we're filthy rich. We're staring at a switchblade now, and the runner's got a little bit more money.
So what do you think about him showing that now? So he already had a decent amount of credit. He already has drip economy, and you don't have a particularly taxing HQ server, but you're going to tell the runner, hey, I do have 2 agendas in my hand.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that they protect themselves, but you are kind of putting yourself at this this vulnerability by saying it's there without having a way to thoroughly tax him on the way in.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a Nisei, so I guess if he had that in hand, I'd feel a little bit different. The Future Perfect's tough to chase after, but, 2 out of 5, knowing that legwork is somewhere in Ricky's deck, I'd be a little scared to do that.
Yeah.
I'd probably start scoring and just make him guess which one it is.
I mean, if you're low on money, sure, that celebrity gift is great, but I mean, he didn't need it.
Yeah, I mean, he's filthy rich, and that just made him a little filthier.
RP decks are filthy. All right, there we go. I think we're going to start seeing this score, and he's going to double advance it.
Yeah, and I like that play. I mean, I don't know which one he put down, but I do like just the install advance rather than the single advance. I mean, it keeps the runner guessing at all times of, is that the future perfect, or is it an NAPD that maybe I'm not going to be able to afford if I go through all this ice and get to it.
And Ricky, I believe, up at 4 credits right now, but the switchblade is on the board. And silencer. So now he has to, now this is where he has a few recurring credits and he has some economy, so he has to start picking and choosing his runs very carefully.
Yeah, so we're not at full memory yet, so Cortex Lock still does damage. So if there's a way to get another program out, I mean, essentially, if he wanted to just lock R&D, he could use the cloak recurring credit to fuel the corroder, and then it would be 2 credits to run through R&D. But again, he's got to get that program on the board so that Cortex Lock doesn't start hitting him for damage.
And while he was doing that, I did notice that Josh's hand that he was a little clever. He did put down the NAPD on the board, so he still has the future perfect.
Well, Ricky found the agenda he was looking for. Getting the knee safe scored is certainly exactly what you want to see. And you just see, I mean, look at the corpse credit pile. I mean, Ricky, I think at this point has just decided the corp's going to have money and there's not a lot I can do about it. And he's just playing the game of, well, what are you going to do with all that money? You don't have any ice to really spend it on.
Right, and I'm thinking, you know, we can see in his hand he has some more pieces of ice to put over R&D. We know there's an NAPD on the board and it only needs 2 more advanced counters. I'm assuming, yeah, that he's going to put that ice down and then finish off that NAPD with the 1 extra click he had. Well, the 1 click on the ice, 2 clicks on the NAPD. But
we were talking a little bit earlier. I don't know what ice he installed, but I know he has it wasn't the Susano. You know, that ice is so potent, but when you're staring across at the deck that, frankly, is the hardest counter to it because you've got Switchblade that deals with it for 2 stealth credits, basically.
Right.
You know, kind of neutralizing, I think, what normally would be one of the biggest threats in Josh's deck.
And now he's got the Ghost Runner, so... Yeah, Ricky is just going to start running like crazy now.
Okay. Well, I like that Josh placed the ice type that I think cost Ricky the most. I mean, he does not have a Black Cat or any kind of stealth barrier breaker, so I think it's probably wise to cost him as much money as he possibly can to make these runs.
Black Cat.
You will see a Black Cat deck today. I will guarantee you that.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure
I have seen it in a deck list.
All right,
so
goes
finally
and finishes off the NAPD. I think another piece of ice on R&D. Nope, just because it makes a new remote server. Ricky draws twice. 3 times. I'm not sure what he's digging for, and then just click Katie. Yeah, give him a turn.
Yeah, and I know the runner looks to be pretty low on money, but for those of you who have not played the Stealth Andromeda deck, I mean, the great part about it is you get to a point where to make 1 run a turn, you really don't need that much real money. When you get the stealth money online, now these Marcuses are going to cost him some real money, and that will be the biggest challenge. But you know, Ricky's going to find himself in a state where runs are not that expensive to make.
And in fact, sometimes you start making money off the runs just because of Desperado and ultimately, what's the other one I'm thinking of?
Security testing.
Thank you.
We haven't seen that out on the board. Now, granted, you know, I think Josh has got the servers, the centrals, clogged up to the point where I don't know that it would be making him a lot of money at this point. But yeah, normally that's a big part of this this criminal economy engine. Josh just wanting to dump his tokens out, spread all his credits on the table, just
thanks more
rub it in.
Show of dominance.
Exactly.
This is my board.
Starting to put credits on Ricky's playmat just to tell him what's up.
Sorry, there's no space over here. I have to use a little bit of your board. Is that okay? Think it through, and so now it's kind of the pendulum has swung back here, right where Josh had those big scoring windows earlier. Now he's going to have to start thinking, well, where can I squeeze something in here? because Ricky making another R&D run, and he's just showing, you know, it's not terribly expensive.
Yeah. And at this point, I mean, if I'm Josh, I just go for that future perfect and try to bang that out, because reality of it is, I mean, if you can get that scored out, I think one of the face down remote cards he put was the other daily business show. And, I mean, if you can get another agenda in hand, similar to what we saw in the first game, I mean, you can get to a point where you put the runner on the clock. No, that's just a mental health clinic.
Yeah, daily business is up in the archives.
You can put the runner on the clock to say, all right, I've got basically 4 turns that I'm going to score out unless you can pull all 2 remaining agendas off R&D. And, you know, given the fact that you've got future perfects and NAPDs in your deck, that's not always a given.
Okay, install advance.
There we go.
There we go. That is that future perfect. So I like how he has, you know, put 2. Okay, I was about to say put 2 mental health clinics together and just left the third one out somewhere else.
Excuse me while I rearrange all of my money-producing assets.
One of those very kind players that respects the space of the stream's camera there.
Good looking out, Josh.
Now Ricky here, I guess, is trying to decide whether he wants to keep that R&D hammer going or if he wants to try to push through this remote. I mean, I don't think he has any chance of pushing through this with all that money that he has and what I assume is an Ash or a Caprice in here.
And he's running the account side, and I can only assume that this is to get Ricky money rather than to deny Josh money. And it's funny, we were talking in the setup at the beginning of how different the meta is from a year ago. A year ago, Corps were in a position where they didn't have enough money to where, you know, they get a single account swipe, and a lot of times it would break them or set them back.
Yeah.
But you're looking at the board now, and the Corp just says, all right, lose
Whatever.
5, what do I care?
Meanwhile, the runner has paid all of 3 credits and makes 7 off the run.
Yep. And now his Ghost Runner and Katie, if he doesn't clear the tags, are potentially going to be trashed. But at this point, I don't know that Josh would even care. I mean, he's got such a dominant board state, and Katie is slow enough to where I don't think it's going to be able to really make the difference for Ricky at this point.
He's just got to keep hammering that R&D and hoping to pull stuff.
I think I'm out of 1 credit markers. Can I borrow some of yours, Ricky?
It was future perfect. So now Ricky under the gun here.
Yeah, and this is the problem. I mean, I think Ricky's still in this game in the sense that if you're going to see 2 off of R&D, I mean, you could, just like we saw in the last game, I mean, you could snipe the winning agendas at this point, but if you've got to be thinking, if you're Ricky, if Josh has 1 in hand, next turn he's going to install advance, and there may not be a heck of a lot I can do about it.
Scores.
Ooh.
Another Nisi. And trashes
All
Caprice. All right. So now it could still be game point for Ricky because there's still 2 more future perfects sitting in the deck.
Yeah, and I can't see if Josh has the agenda he wants to draw or put in that server. Do you try to score out, or do you try to put something over R&D to give yourself some protection? Does he have anything that you think could really protect him?
You got to try to score out. Both your Nisis are gone. And so, or 2 of your Nisis are gone. So again, we're at this point where most of the agendas in your deck can protect themselves a little bit. And NAPD is actually helpful here because Ricky only has 2 real credits. I mean, he has the Ghost Runner credits he could use. But, I mean, you still have to kind of hope, because if he pulls the NAPD, that's not going to win for him. He needs the Future Perfect. Future Perfect can protect itself, so you just kind of got to go for the score out here.
Yeah,
but I think
we see that he drew the Future Perfect, so he's got it. He's going for it.
And Ricky, it doesn't matter what that agenda is. He knows that anything in his deck can win it for him. So Ricky is probably going to have to find a way into that remote. But good luck. I assume one of those has to be a toll booth.
And this is where, I mean, you see on Ricky's side, you see a scored Future Perfect. I imagine he can only assume that install advance might be the second one. And so, you know, again, he needs 3 points to win it. Another Nisei or another NAPD isn't going to get it done, and he's got 4 clicks to win this game.
Install another R&D interface, install another R&D interface, run R&D, see 4 cards.
I like that play.
That's
never mind.
Never mind that you didn't have enough credit for it.
2 credits be darned. And we never saw it get there, but, you know, one of the pieces of ice that I like in Josh's deck, Ashigaru, if he would have put that on R&D, I mean, that would have gotten it to the point where Ashigaru, Marcus, I mean, that is a nasty server to try and run back through. So, you know, Josh showing us what is possible when you've got the money train rolling with replicating perfection.
All right, so he goes, R&D, take credits, R&D interface, play Ghost Runner. Running through there, trashing his stuff with Marcus. He's like, forget it, I'm not going to break subroutines. This is the last run of the game. Why do I care?
And for newer players, for those of you who don't know, if he does encounter an NAPD contracts, it's not going to win him the game again, but if he has to steal it, you can use Ghost Runner credits to steal it. So, you know, don't think that he's just going to brick necessarily, but he does need to get a little bit lucky here.
There's a small part of me that just is waiting to see him pull a Nisi and an NAPD off the top.
Oh, yeah, and it looks like he trashed the silencer because he ate the Marcus subroutine.
Oh, but I don't think – so I think even with the 3 Ghost Runner credits, he has 1 on the other one. He's not going to be able to play for an NAPD anymore.
Oh, wow. So we are side game or bust.
Yeah, he needs to hit the one last future perfect.
All right, boys and girls, this is the Netrunner we love. 2 cards. Let's see it. Nope.
And you heard that little sigh of exasperation. I don't know if you guys caught on the stream, but I'm going to guess that top card may be an NAPD.
Good game, guys.
All right. And side games holding strong.
This is the power of replicating perfection. We've got Josh Singleton, 2 O's on camera, so off to a good start here.